This week on Hermitcraft.
That's because I put on my Christmas skin for the holiday season.
As you can see, I've got my new skin on.
This is the best Christmas skin I have ever seen.
I need to put on something much more suitable. And now, I'm ready to judge.
Welcome to the Hermitcraft recap. My name is Pixelriffs, our writer is LoyXP, and the Grian headhunt has come to an end. There is plenty to unpack, with all the twists and turns it took along the way, but it all wraps up with Grian donning his accountant outfit and checking out everyone's scores and vaults. Yes, the vaults counted towards their final ranking, which Grian didn't initially explain because he wanted to see what everybody would do. And what everybody did is steal from each other and otherwise conspire around the competition. Cubfan and Tango in particular have appropriately butted heads the whole way through. On top of the machinations mentioned last week, Tango Tech robbed one of the several vaults Convex had hidden away, and Cubfan discovered and emptied Tango's main end vault, having found the way to it after going all CSI on Tango's stream footage and flying around with the camera account.
He knew they were in the end because he watched my live stream.
Right.
Yeah, so he did put some clues together, and I gotta give him credit. He was pretty smart, but it's still
using the camera account is a no-go zone for me.
This still didn't do much for Cubfan's overall score because at the last minute, the Convex decided to raffle their heads randomly between the members of their conglomerate, which is how Joe Hills ended up with a negative score and TFC with the most heads of all. At the last minute, Zombie Cleo joined in on the fun with one Grian head and a boat full of nearly indistinguishable cod noggins.
Says I look like a wet fish.
Do I get bonus points for being mean?
No.
Aww.
But the final clash went down between Iskall 85 with his super fancy head vault and the woman who broke into it.
That means 187 points to you and 192 to False, meaning she
That
wins.
means I win.
Congratulations.
Thank you, what?
Yay!
However,
You deserve it though, False.
Now December has started and the Hermits have declared a snowball fight. The tab scoreboard is awarding points each time a Hermit successfully snowballs one of their server mates, because they already cleared out all that netherrack from the hub, so they had to use the tab scoreboard for something. And with all that out of the way, let's take a look at all the events and mishaps that occurred on the Hermitcraft server this week. In the spirit of the season, many Hermits decided to participate in the decoration of the Christmas area. Zombie Cleo, for one, wanted to recreate a nativity play as told by a group of preschoolers. Alas, this meant first she had to get the costumes for them, and Horseheads took her such a long while that the performance day is moved to later in the month. Wells Knight does his part in the festivities and chips in for a life-size gingerbread house with sweet decorations all over it. This one has no witches living in it, but regardless, the inhabitants will be impossible to catch.
It's hard to do a candy cane that looks exactly right on a really small scale like this. I mean, honestly, it's hard to do anything with curves on a really small scale like that. I think I like this, though.
iJevin adds a giant snow globe into the mix, which is not necessarily different from the weather the rest of the island is having.
So we need to make some snow golems here, so to do that, we're gonna cheer those fellas.
Azuma Void starts a whole can of worms of his own for the occasion. In a blast from the past, they bring back the mini golf course idea dreamed up by Zul'jin back in Season 3, when a faulty ball could cost you a 50-block trip to the foot of an amplified mountain. Just like before, any Hermit who feels like it can claim an available plot and provide their own obstacle course, with the added bonuses of blue ice and bubble column technology. For inspiration, X visits the proper golf course already available on the server and tries to submit a tournament-worthy score for the Concorp competition. Well, you might as well, now that the membership is just a part of the shareholder benefit plan.
35 is the score that we got, that's 2 over, and Cub holds the course record with 2 under. I am really proud of this score though, because I played so much worse in the past.
The shareholders of Azuma's enterprise will soon have their own neat package of benefits, but for now it's only a skyscraper with a secret entrance to it and a cheaper price for the repair shop. Impulse SV is one of the first Hermits to claim a mini-golf plot, although for now he just stops by to check out the demonstration room. The rest of his week is spent on other projects, fixing the minecarts at his slime farm, helping Tango prank various and sundry server mates, and drafting an idea for water cells suspended in the sky, allowing trident-powered hermits to sail through the air without the need for fireworks.
Bam, and then there we go. Yeah, it is easier in F5 mode. That is cool.
He's got time to invest in Riptide R&D now that Rendog has been dropping off his share of Log Factory revenue. In the meantime, the full-sized golf offered by Concorp steps up its game thanks to Skaar nearly finishing the comfortable country club for the players. Between tennis courts and a swimming pool, this really is a luxurious establishment for creepers and those who can afford it.
Thanks for reminding me, Bob and Stan here, so hopefully we can get that all sorted out.
Newer players will find useful a new training and testing course compiled by Cubfan with specialised measured lines for you to perfect your swing. But the boomy green guys aren't the only ones Skaar should be on the lookout for now that False Symmetry has kicked her Shelcha Box Adoption service into action. Since the plan all along was to rescue mistreated Shelcha boxes from their rightful yet negligent owners, Skaar is the #1 target and offender, along with Rendog. Poor Rocky.
Because I've already had to rescue Rocky from the floor before he despawned. Yes, guys, he's already been on the floor after Ren's died.
Both of them can recover their storage containers back at her adoption service for a price and promise never to do that again. Doc M also finds himself the victim, customer of False's services this week after leaving 1 or 2 or 12 Shelcha boxes at the site of his redstone shop, although that's not the only reason he has to be scared of False after he puts together a rail duplicator and receives an ominous sign.
Uh-oh. Looks like we're in trouble, guys.
The whole reason he needs to double his stock of rails is that he needs twice as many for a piston-assisted subway system leading straight to the stock exchange, which fits in nicely with the hands-free minecart reloader and the used minecarts disappearing into the floor. On the less kidnappy side, False starts a whole new store in the underground Derp Mall, the knick-knack shop, where you can pick up items that might have been too much hassle to acquire otherwise. This particular branch specialises in, well, branches, actually. The emphasis is on nature-related produce, dead bushes being one such fine example. At her own base in the Fantasy District, though, nature is saddled and parked according to the guidelines, in a new fancy stable for horses of the skeletal persuasion, serving on top of everything as a test build for the block palette. Fantasy builds aren't just limited to the Fantasy District. This week, Stress Monster decides to carve her own Amethyst cave out by the site of her new strip mine, with some unconventional tools.
And then obviously we'll change the floor up. No, that is a chicken, love. That will not break. That will not break the sandstone.
Before long, the mountainside has been transformed into a shiny purple geode with glass and concrete stalagmites, a border of smooth grey concrete, and the faint smell of roasted poultry. Buried in a completely different mountain, TFC has dedicated his week to improving the lives of the Vault 6 residents, or at least giving them a bit more variety in how they choose to grill things. Thanks to some helpful comments on his last episode, there's some functional furnaces thrown in there, a few different table designs, and a few trapdoors that aren't actually trapped, and that's a Vault-Tec guarantee. Tango Tech too had to dig with some unconventional methods on behalf of Joe Hills and his way too thought-through TNT traps.
Be shocked and amazed at what this might do. No? Nothing? Come on! If I break that. Aha! Yes. Breaking. There we go.
His own retaliation against Cubfan and his head-stealing methods is way less technologically advanced, or mature for that matter. Guess he needed something to outweigh all the tweaking and science his charged creeper-based Wither Skull farm had to go through to work properly. Did you know that pumpkins are superior to hats at making skeletons not despawn? Yeah, this is the level of game mechanic quirks we're talking about. On the subject of mechanical quirks, Iskall reveals, in the aftermath of getting second place in the headhunt, that his vault was meant to be accessed via Chorus Fruit all along, which makes sense considering the first key he used was a renamed item, and after Tango's viewers somehow figured that one out, the second key was more egg than you thought it was.
But the problem was I didn't fill this up, so you would need to throw multiple eggs in to open the door with the key lock. I got you all! Well, I got you all except False Symmetry.
But he likes the idea of a bling bling treasure vault enough that he reproduces it in his storage sphinx, this time with gems instead of leftover Grian parts, and spends the rest of his time melting down his ice base using a Silk Touch pickaxe. Zedaf, meanwhile, prefers to just take everything he owns with him wherever he goes, or at least store it at whichever of his bases he's staying at the moment. Between the Glacier, the Pyramid, and the Wu Den, there are now 3 drop-off walls for him to place his Shelcha Boxes of holding. This is quite convenient now that a sizable part of his iceberg base is waterlogged and occupied by fish. Sadly for Rendog, the same can be said of Grand Central Station. The waterlogged and fish part, not the convenient part, but enough sand, gravel, and sponges will soon take care of that, and afterwards he can sell them at the Big Rocks docks. The station also gets a free hat, courtesy of the convex sort of, but not really, accepting his log armistice.
After the executive, legal, and board of directors have made a decision, we will pass it on to our shareholders to render a vote. Well, it's not exactly an armistice, but I think it's pretty close.
Encouraged by the convex at least thinking about not stealing his business, he starts working on a rail line through the shopping district, building it with similar materials to Azuma's line so it doesn't look out of place amongst all the cartoon pickles and the statue of a giant villager. But the Big Rocks business needs packing crates, so Ren gives himself a pep talk and heads off to the end in search of shulkers to swipe at, and some say he is still there to this day. And now for something completely different.
I'm not the hero this server wants. I'm not the hero this server needs. I am not the hero this server deserves. But I'm the only one it's got.
Grian seemingly finishes the poultry cave under his base, with a large egg in the middle serving as the crowning jewel. Inside is the new hiding spot for the chicken guy costume and a couple of egg farms providing him with spare ammunition. What the Avengers Endgame is for this project remains a mystery. Perhaps throwing eggs at people is a reward in itself. After an attempt to class up his base with an end crystal goes nuclear, Grian notices that this whole destroying stuff thing is something he's rather good at. So to capitalize on it, he buys some of the free gunpowder from Mumbo's creeper farm and starts offering Demolition Man services at the shopping district. Why he expects people to pay him to blow their stuff up escapes us. Speaking of escape, everybody run. At least Mumbo has a use for those diamonds, paying people to walk the dog. The catch is that Duke the dog was tamed by his namesake, the Hermitcraft fan whose make-a-wish was to play on the server, and that means nobody can get the dog to stand up and follow them. So until Mojang adds frisbees to the game, people are really going to have to work to earn those diamonds. Speaking of flinging things into the sky, Mumbo decides to do that to himself, setting up auto-dispensing water pockets around his base so he can fly into the air with Riptide. Then Tango and Impulse do the same with Mumbo's rocket shop, propelling it to build height so that customers will choose Tango's store instead. Although the novelty of the shop being so high in the air and the crater it left behind has led to it getting more traffic than it had when it was earthbound.
Mumbo's rocket shop has really taken off.
A rocket shop, and it's really taken off. There is a blast crater here.
Is there a way just to do a giant just fly up there then?
Last of all, Good Times with Skaar has finally terraformed Mumbo's main island, but Mumbo decides to stay classy and let Skaar have the reveal of all that hard work. So Mumbo spends a day avoiding his base and instead tours the server so he can misremember who built everything. If only there was some kind of show he could watch that would explain things for him.
Now this is how rich False is. Look, she doesn't even care that there is a diamond ore there. More industrial builds now, and this is Impulse's place.
And finally there's Ijevin, whose main mission seems to be luring more people into sharing his holds at the Hermit Street. There is some tweaking of the wheat farm and his personal project, but it's kind of few and far between this particular week. Aside from the access to all his AFK-able farms, now you get a one-time chance to have Jevin actually mine for you for an hour straight, receiving everything he gets from it but the broken pickaxe. When you realise that the company owners don't really get any profit from the share sales at all, it's awfully generous. Now, speaking of awfully generous, it's time for us to make some Hermit's comments a living nightmare. It's RECAPTAG! This week, to celebrate the ingenious solution to his vault puzzle, we want you all to eat a chorus fruit, teleport yourself into Iskall 85's latest video via the iCards, and leave the comment VWOOP. And that's just about it for this week's recap. Our writer is LoyXP, and my name is PixelRiffs. I've been making week-daily episodes of my Minecraft Survival Guide tutorial series, so I'd love it if you check that out in the end screen theatre this week. Don't forget to leave a like while you're still here, and subscribe so you won't miss future recaps. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.